This is the second of 3 sessions that we have now in the Dynamic CRM Essentials series. This one is, I've referred to it here as customizing the XRM platform, but it's really customizing Dynamic CRM, which has come to be known as the XRM platform, and we will talk about that. I'll go through this quickly because you guys pretty much know me, but President CEO of IMG, my emails here. My blog, which is all about building business value on Dynamic CRM, and then our corporate website, which we recently transitioned to, is imginc.net, not .com anymore. We specialize in Dynamic CRM and have for a few years now. I am our Dynamic CRM practice lead, and for a long time I architected and delivered the Dynamic CRM certification prep program for Microsoft to its partners. So I've had a lot of experience in both working with, consulting, customizing Dynamic CRM, as well as training and certification prep on it. And some of that you will see reflected in these sessions. So the kind of the context of these Dynamic CRM Essentials sessions is I kind of went back to the drawing board and thought about the training that I would have wanted when I was first starting out with Dynamic CRM, and so one of the criteria were sessions that were kind of short and sweet, not necessarily feature walks that focused on that covered every feature in the product, but short sessions because it's important to be efficient, and that really zero in on the things that you need and kind of informed by experience and best practice. So that's really what I'm trying to do with these. The 3 sessions that we've got in this series are applications. The next one is scheduled for January 21st. They're all one-day sessions. This current one is customizing the Dynamic CRM XRM platform. The next one of these is scheduled February 4th. And then there's also a one-day workflows essentials session. The next one of those is scheduled 2010. Don't forget, that's January 2010. And we're going to probably do a more or less monthly series of these, and the typical format. You guys familiar with that? So we will take breaks. Don't worry, we don't have a 3-hour uninterrupted harangue here. We will take plenty of breaks. And I think everybody that's on the call now is a subscriber, and one of the reasons that I think I can get away with these shorter sessions that don't necessarily cover every feature is because a lot of the people who attend these sessions have subscriptions, and the content that you get through a subscription to the e-learning libraries that we have on imginc.net, they do contain really comprehensive treatment of all of these topics, and those really are feature walks. And the reason they're feature walks is because they're certification prep sessions. So they really have to cover a lot of things, and probably throughout the course of the topics that we cover today, I'll maybe mention a few things, but there are plenty of things that we won't cover in this session that would be on an exam. So this is not an exam prep session. This is really the survival guide, what you need to be an effective customizer of Dynamic CRM 4 and Dynamic CRM Online, because it's essentially the same platform. And we've got this special offer for people that are not currently subscribers to get all that content for a mere $100 until December 31st. If you have any questions, you can email the irrepressible Kim Noble, kimn@imginc.com. And there is free content that goes nicely along with this, available at my blog. So the dynamiccrmtrickbag.com is all about Dynamic CRM, and there are categories. One of those categories in particular, the certification category, is something that people that are interested in attending sessions like these might be interested in as well, so flag that out. Now, let me give you the roadmap of what we're going to cover in this session. First thing that I'll start with is big picture customization overview. I want to talk about why Dynamic CRM is such a good platform for building custom applications on, and in particular why it's come to be referred to as the XRM platform. And I want to talk about the kinds of customizations that we can do. So that will put kind of everything in perspective, and I'll try to give you a feel for the kinds of things you can do with this platform. The rest of the way, I'm going to flesh out those topics. So in the first kind of substantive part, module, we'll talk about a foundation skill, which is working with users, business units, and security, and really understanding how that plays in to the customizations that you can perform with Dynamics CRM. Then I'm going to talk about forms and views and how we can work with those, what we mean by views and forms in Dynamics CRM, and the kinds of customizations you can do with them. Then entities and attributes are an important core skill, and this really has to do with if we want to go past maybe just customizing where fields are on a form and we want to start changing the fields in the dynamic CRM so-called schema, the fields or columns we have to work with, changing the relationship between things like accounts and contacts and opportunities, those so-called entities. Once we understand working with entities and attributes, the next logical important thing that we got to focus on is how those are related to each other, because that's really an important, it's really that's a key skill, and you really need to understand that there are some subtleties there, and it's one of those areas that in 15 minutes or half an hour of explaining, I can save newcomers to this platform a lot of time and learning by doing and butting your head against the wall, because there definitely are some things that come up over and over again in that area. There are some characteristic kinds of examples that I'll show you. Here's the kinds of things that you can actually achieve with that. So I'll spend some time with that. Once we get that under our belt, then I think probably the next most important thing to talk about is form scripting. Now we can do a pretty good job of really customizing the user interface and making some things happen pretty dynamically and responsively on forms with form scripting, a little bit of code. And a lot of what I'm going to do in some of these more advanced areas is show you the capabilities, introduce you to it, and then also leave you with pointers. So for somebody that knows a lot of this stuff, but for instance maybe doesn't have a lot of background programming or JavaScript, the language that you'll code behind forms in Dynamics CRM, I'll give you some useful links to kind of primer sites and places to go for more information. Then the final topic is custom menus, toolbars, and a sitemap. That's an interesting area. It does get into some what can be relatively advanced topics, but it also really fleshes out the concept of XRM, because it really illustrates that you can think of Dynamic CRM as kind of a palette, like a blank slate almost. If you approach it in a certain way, you could really develop any kind of application, line of business application. Doesn't have to have anything to do with sales, service, marketing, the built-in capabilities in CRM, and you could really make it look totally like your own thing and nothing really like the out-of-the-box CRM. And menus, toolbars, and a sitemap is an important piece of that for people that do want to do that.